We're back in session on the INsession News channel. My name is Kushi Shrivastava, and today we will be discussing today's topic of immigration. More on it, here's Kashvi.
Hi everyone, I'm Kashvi Shah, and in today's episode, we four reporters are going to be talking about the current affairs and different policies based on immigration for different states: California, Florida, Texas, and New Jersey. Starting off with California, Sukruti.
Hey everyone, I'm Sukruti Madhabushni, and I'll be reporting live from California. Today I'll be talking about policies of full ban on asylum and sensitive locations policy. Now I'll hand over the mic to Kushi, who is all the way across the country in Florida.
The United States has a set of rules and regulations that every state is required to follow. Then there are some policies that only some states follow and others make their own to fit their needs. Florida has quite a few policies that impact not only the people living in it but also the people in the country. Florida enacted laws in 2023, SB 1718, and 2025, SB 2C and SB 4C, that significantly impacted immigrants, focusing on employer verification, penalties for transporting undocumented immigrants, in-state tuition for undocumented students, and increased enforcement power for state and local agencies. Just this year, Florida tried to implement a policy that included the death penalty for undocumented immigrants convicted of capital felonies, mandatory minimum sentences for certain misdemeanors, a crime for illegal entry, and increased funding to enforce these measures. Let's move on to Texas, handing it over to Anushka.
Thanks, Kushi. Reporting from the Lone Star State, this is Anushka Gupta-Medimi here. With more than 1,200 miles of shared border with Mexico, Texas has been a local focal point in the immigration debate. Leaders have used aggressive enforcement measures and policies, from expanding the ICE's detention budget to more than $14 billion under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, to deploying additional U.S. military troops and National Guard members to the southern border, and increasing the criminal prosecution of unauthorized entry and other immigration-related offenses. Not only that, Texas has many of its own state-specific immigration policies that they've incorporated in effort of taking matters into their own hands. But for now, here's more on New Jersey with Kashvi.
Thanks, Anushka. I'm here live, reporting from New Jersey. The two policies I'll be talking about today are the attempts to end birthright citizenship, an executive order that seeks to prevent birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. to parents without legal status, and the restrictions on immigrant access to public benefits.
Let's transition to immigration from a historical perspective. For that, we're looking at the Constitution and its role in the system we have in place today.
The 14th Amendment states, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to jurisdiction, therefore, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. How would you feel if you were stripped of this right? That's exactly what is happening right now. President Trump is attempting to get rid of the 14th Amendment, as he believes people used it to come into the U.S. to help better the economy, and then their children get birthright citizenship, creating a chain of immigrant heritage.
You know, Kushi, the 14th Amendment did not always guarantee birthright citizenship to all U.S.-born people.
That's a great point, Kashvi. One article that relates to immigration is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. This clause basically states that rights on handling bankruptcy and naturalization are federal rights and not a state one. One example of this bankruptcy clause is in California. If you declare bankruptcy, your case will not be handled by state courts, but by federal bankruptcy courts. Additionally, the clause also talks about the naturalization process. Making naturalization a federal power essentially means that immigrants who want to become citizens must apply to the federal office of USCIS and follow their process. The clause also restricts states from deporting aliens, leaving that up to federal governments.
This is a major issue. Oh my God! It's occurring to me that it directly ties into the 5th and 6th Amendments. The Fifth Amendment guarantees that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Sounds familiar, right? We heard this from John Locke, an Enlightenment thinker who is also known as the father of liberalism. Anyways, that means immigrants, regardless of status, are entitled to fair treatment and hearings when detained. As well, the Sixth Amendment ensures that anyone facing criminal charges has the right to an attorney, even undocumented immigrants. While this amendment remains clear for criminal charges, an attorney may not be guaranteed at civil proceedings like deportation. Such protections like these highlight that the Constitution was written to extend rights to all under the U.S. jurisdiction.
Let's continue on with some policies that are implemented to mitigate the impacts of these controversial issues. Starting off with my first policy, the attempt to end birthright citizenship. It is crucial to know that when President Trump wanted to enforce this, New Jersey was among 22 states that sued over the president's use of an executive order to ban the birthright citizenship, as stated in the article by Johnson. These states included California, Massachusetts, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wisconsin. They all joined the lawsuit to stop the order. Mind you, America only has 50 states. If you are wondering what this executive order was, well, Trump's order challenges the interpretation of the 14th Amendment, which Cushy elaborated on earlier, by arguing that not everyone in the U.S. who was born should automatically receive citizenship. It claims that the children of non-citizens, such as undocumented immigrants or temporary visa holders, are not fully under the U.S. jurisdiction and thus not entitled to birthright citizenship. Now, legal experts widely regard any attempt to unilaterally end birthright citizenship as constitutional and likely to be overturned.
Now, the first policy I'll be talking about is the asylum ban. The asylum ban is a measure put in place by President Donald Trump, which states that any asylum proceedings are on hold until the invasion ends. To be put simply, there are many effects to this proclamation, one of them being the immediate end to current CBP-1 appointments as of January 20th, 2025, as well as the removal of people at the border. Moreover, going forward, there will be more restrictions on applications which require medical and criminal documentation to apply. Along with this, the third country policy states that if you have traveled across another country without asking for asylum, then you can be denied entry. In addition, the asylum ban also restricts humanitarian efforts to help migrants. What are some of these effects that this has? Well, this makes it harder for migrants to enter the country and also leaves many people stranded and separated from their families. This also increases crime rates and kidnappings.
A major policy being implemented not only in Florida but in the U.S. as a whole is the border policy. The Trump administration expanded the use of expedited removal, a process that bypasses immigration judges. It can now be used on individuals who have been in the country for less than 2 years. This policy has helped and hurt. Jobs are being revived back, but labor is becoming less. To further implement this policy effectively, the government released the launch of mass deportation program. The administration is building the infrastructure for a mass deportation program targeting both new arrivals and long-term residents. In this mass deportation, immigrants are being treated inhumanely. Florida has one of the biggest immigrant populations. Of about 22% of Florida residents are immigrants. An additional 29% of Florida children have at least one immigrant parent, making this program quite prominent in Florida.
Texas has supported many large-scale federal initiatives to strengthen immigration enforcement, including a recent bill that quadruples ICE's annual detention budget to significantly increase the number of detention beds. This expansion is aiming to provide the capacity needed to detain more individuals awaiting immigration proceedings. Alongside this, the federal government under the Trump administration authorized the deployment of more U.S. military troops and the National Guard to the southern border, a move that Texas strongly backed. Taken together, these measures show how quickly both state and regional governments can reshape how resources are directed and how immigration is policed. Right now, Texas feels the immediate effects of these actions, such as increased military presence, more detention facilities, but reduced illegal crossings across the border.
The next policy I would like to talk about is the sensitive locations policy. This policy restricts ICE from entering public places of importance. This is now reinstated. This means that ICE now has permission to enter all places that are both public and sensitive. A silver lining of this policy is, however, that places can not authorize ICE's entry and go away with no consequences. In addition, ICE must confer with ICE counsel to make a decision on entering a public space. Rights still remain with immigrants are the Fifth Amendment, which states that people have the right to remain silent, and the Fourth Amendment, which states that people have the right to withhold from search and seizure.
My second policy is about the limits on immigrant access to public benefits. The U.S. uses a public charge test to see if someone applying for a green card or a visa might rely too much on government aid. If so, they can be denied. This mostly affects family-based immigrants, but groups like refugees, asylees, and DACA are exempt. Many immigrant families avoid benefits like food or healthcare out of the fear that it could hurt their status. State and local governments face complex legal challenges when deciding whether to provide benefits to non-citizens. At times, the Equal Protection Clause requires benefits to be given, while in other cases, the federal law may just mandate their denial or leave it up to the states. These conflicting laws create ongoing constitutional debates that are likely to continue for so many years. Kushi?
Thanks, Kashvi. I completely agree with the fact such laws create so much controversy that builds up. Another policy that has the same issue is the use of Alien Enemies Act. The administration has used this obscure 18th century law to deport individuals, claiming they are members of criminal gangs. This has been met with legal challenges over potential due process violations. Many cases include human rights violations, international law violations, and wrongful deportations. This policy has shut down, but in March 2025, President Trump issued a proclamation invoking the Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. The proclamation characterized the gang's activity as predatory incursion against the United States. Due to this, an official in Florida announced the arrest of an alleged TDA member under the act. In May 2025, the Supreme Court had already maintained a temporary block on deportations, stating that non-citizens were entitled due to process.
Yeah, that sounds like what's happening here too. In recent years, immigration enforcement has also focused on the criminalization of immigration offenses. The administration is increasing the criminal prosecution of unauthorized entry and other immigration-related offenses. Texas leaders have supported this shift of treating unlawful entry as a criminal matter rather than a civil matter like before. This approach increases court cases, arrests, and potential jail time for undocumented immigrants, not to mention the time needed for all this. While Texas sees this enforcement policy as a way to protect communities, there have been growing concerns over accountability and transparency as to the processes and conditions inside these detention facilities. In fact, Congresswoman Julie Johnson is touring them in an attempt to know what goes on and ensure that rights are being protected.
Okay, now that we've mentioned federal policies, let's zoom into the state actions and their impacts.
California has passed immigrant-friendly policies like expanding Medi-Cal, protecting workers' rights, granting driver's licenses regardless of status, and ensuring safe access to education. In contrast, Texas has enacted strict enforcement laws such as Operation Lone Star, Senate Bill 4 criminalizing unauthorized entry, and property restrictions on certain foreign nationals, sparking federal lawsuits and controversy. Florida has taken an even harsher stance with laws mandating employer verification, criminalizing illegal entry, and imposing severe penalties, including the death penalty for capital felonies, though parts have been blocked by the Supreme Court.
Now comes the real question here. Is immigration a federal or state responsibility? Like all difficult questions, there are factors that are being dependent upon. This includes political priorities, economic impact, and historical and demographic characteristics.
You know, Anushka, I think we can say that California, Florida, Texas, and New Jersey all support stronger state authority in immigration. Florida pushes stricter rules to address immigration and drug issues. Texas stresses the border security through programs like Operation Lone Star, and New Jersey backs state control to protect and support its large immigrant population.
And with that, our session comes to a close. Immigration remains one of the most complex and debated issues in our country, with states and the federal government often pulling in different directions. From policies that protect to those that restrict, the impacts are felt by millions of people every single day. Thank you to Kashvi, Sukruti, and Anushka for their insightful reporting across the nation. And thank you for tuning into this episode of INsession, Immigration Uncovered. Until next time, this session is adjourned.